no, I'm getting Infinity War flashbacks. What's up guys, Alphonso here, and here we are to do a breakdown of chapter 251 of Jujutsu Kaisen, which is known as The Decisive Battle in the Uninhabited Demon-Infested Shinjuku, Part 23. And absolutely nothing exciting happens. Okay, let me not even pretend to lie to you. I'm away on my toes right now. Okay, let me stop. It's not that serious. It is serious, but it's not that. It is that serious. It is. You know why it's that serious. You know exactly why it's that. Like, it's that serious for like 5 days. Like this. Oh man. For this chapter is like the epitome of everything and nothing all at once. So much happens. It's nothing really happens, but so much happens. So we have a lot to talk about. We have a lot to talk about. So let's not waste any more time and let's hop right into it. Editing me. Ready? 3, 2, 1, go. What's up, guys? That guy with a pencil here. Fun fact, I do happen to have it on me and keep it on me at all times. And another fun fact, Jujutsu Kaisen. My boy. I want to have faith. I want to have hope. And I want to have cope. But it just looks like he's gone. I'm sorry. I'm so worried. I'm so worried for my boy. I'm so worried for him. Like, this is so, like, notably for a hot minute now. Well, really ever since you've shown up. I've been saying I've been getting 235 vibes over and over and over again. My vibes never lie. But no. They've lied before and they will lie again. But this chapter, it's like if you mixed 235 and 236. No, it's kind of like, no, it's not this. It's as if 235.5 actually existed. Where we didn't just hard cut from Kusakabe saying Gojo wins to Gojo being in the airport. It's like if we got to see Gojo actually get cut in half by Special Slash. That would have been it. That would have been it. That would be the exact feeling to what this is right now. Because we see it in action. I'm worried for. But of course, we have a lot to talk about before you to getting. So let's actually hop right into it. So first things first, Suguna gets struck by a mock cleave, and then I wonder why it's so localized. Like something I only noticed upon further review. Nothing else on him is sliced. Only that one portion of his face. Like, maybe that's why it's called a mock cleave. And notably, the reason I bring this up, remember how cleave works. And then you get... That was like the worst way I could... But remember how cleave works. It's a grab into the cursed energy spreading out from the point of contact to a genuine amount of slashing. For example, we literally see it later on in this chapter, where a cleave does what? It makes Suguna grab somebody, makes contact with them, and begins to tear open their local chest area, where the contact was made for the most part. But then there's Yuta Kotsu, who cleaved Sukuna's face, even though Sukuna grabbed the I don't know. It feels weird. And like, notably, unless I'm misremembering, at the end of 250, he didn't like slash Sukuna's face and then the cleave start happening, and then Suguna grabbed the blade after the fact. No, Suguna very specifically grabs the blade. Like, that's the whole shocking point at the end of 250. He grabs the blade, expecting something else to happen, and then his face gets cleaved. So I don't know why it worked like this, and why the cleave didn't spread out from the point of contact of the sword. I don't know. Maybe Yuta can aim his cleaves while he's in his domain. I don't know. That just seemed like a weird detail that I didn't point out before, and it only came to me after rereading the chapter again. But with that being the case, Suguna gets smacked in the face by a cleave. And now, this has been another topic of hot, contentious, juicy, scrumdiddlyumptious, and fiery debate. He doesn't say he explicitly ate the finger. And it is weird that Sukuna wouldn't notice that he ate the finger. Remember, the fingers are not just Sukuna's cursed energy. They are mostly Sukuna's cursed energy, but they also contain a portion of Sukuna's soul. Remember, the original point of what Kenjaku did, incarnating people into cursed objects, was to maintain their soul. Not just their soul data, but like literally their soul. So when they were incarnated again, their soul, full form, full body, would be restored. The difference with Sukuna, in comparison to someone like Ryu, in comparison to someone like Kashimo, in comparison to someone like Uro, in comparison to someone like Reggie, and in comparison to someone like Hazanoki, he had multiple soul objects, but notably they were all soul objects. That's kind of what made, or at least that's what implied to have made the binding vow so strong on them, so that Gojo with Hollow Purple couldn't erase the fingers for some reason. It's the fact that each finger contains a portion of an extremely powerful character's soul that is sealed away. But for some reason, Sukuna doesn't sense it in Rika or Yuta. Now, of course, you could write this off as their overwhelming amounts of curse energy together blinded Sukuna from it, because remember, it's only 1/20th of his own curse energy, 1/20th of his own soul. But notably, there are no signs of anything of Yuta having consumed the finger. No markings, no extra eyes. Rika doesn't have an extra eye. Nothing, like like this is the first cleave that gets pulled out. There's nothing to suggest that he really ate it, other than the hint that Yuta drops here. You couldn't retrieve your final finger, could you? So there's been some people hoping and coping that the finger may have been used as a template, or possibly a piece of the finger was broken off and Yuta, and then they hid the rest of it. And admittedly, this is entirely copium for Nobara fans. I'll be real with you, because this is the main thing that this executes. Well, once again, I mentioned it before, I'll mention it again. The reveal that the finger may or may not have been consumed by Yuta Kotsu, if it was consumed, slaughters three things. It slaughters any hypothetical further Sukuna incarnation or resurrection, because the final finger would be consumed and by proxy destroyed. 2, it also slaughters any sort of hope that, like, Nobara could do anything with that final finger in terms of a resonance sense, because the final finger would be consumed, and unless they grab Sukuna's loose hand that's chilling on the battlefield, or got a whole bucket of his juice that's lying around on the Shinjuku battlefield, like, they can't do anything with that. And by they, I mean Nobara. Being the Nobara fans, copium, up in smoke. And then the third thing this kind of executes is any sort of hope that we'll actually get to see what the fingers at least specifically do. Like, would they act as a refresh if Sukuna were to eat one right now? Would they give him another ability? Like, notably, a majority of the community just come to the consensus that it's just curse energy. Some people believe curse energy and output. Some people believe curse energy output and techniques. I'm leaning more towards the curse energy and possible techniques. But then again, we just haven't gotten enough. That's unfortunate. That's the unfortunate thing about Sukuna overall. We just have not gotten enough information on bro. This is a consistent, it's like a running gag at this point that we know nothing about this man. So this final finger, in its simplest form, all that this is saying, even though Yuta does not explicitly say it, I'll say it like this, so we can move on. Yuta did not eat, he does not explicitly say that he ate the finger, meaning the finger could still be in play, and he just nibbled a piece of it. Oh, also this confirms that Ryo was right. In a loose way. Mostly, because why else would he bring up the finger if he just copied it from seeing it? So, Ryo was right. Which means off screen, in whatever way, shape, or form, Rika probably ate Drew, which is creepy to think about, but, and then I guess Charles donated a piece of hair or some juice droplets, and Angel donated a piece of hair or some juice droplets. Interesting. Note that for later. So, with that being the case, we see that Mr. Yuta Okkotsu leads to the... I'm sorry, every time I see this man, I just love it. I love everything about this, from the bulging eyes to the force behind Yuji's fists. To speaking of things that aren't explained, hold on a second. What is it? What do these things do? Because we have not gotten an explanation for them yet. And notably, this chapter seems to reveal the peak of soul manipulation for Yuji, in terms of the sense that he's not warping anything when he makes contact with Sukuna. He's just knocking the soul loose. We have this whole soul discussion later on in the chapter that we'll talk about in a second. But like, what are these? Are these just gauntlets? The only reason I wonder if they're gauntlets or not is because, let me see if I can find a good shot of them. Where are you? Don't you hide your fingy tips from me, young. They have claws. And, like, they seem to be his hands, especially when they are drawn. Someone pointed this out. Yeah, like, it's very 50-50 on whether or not Gege actually draws Yuji with claws. Like, in this very chapter, I think he consistently switches back. Like, look, these aren't claws. Like, you can clearly see this is a blunted nail. You may be able to make a slight argument this is a claw. This is a blunted nail. This also seems to be a blunted nail. This also seems to be a blunted nail. So, like, there's no consistency on whether or not he has claws or not, but if you remove the claws, that makes it even less likely that these are gauntlets. Or I guess maybe they could just be like genuine gauntlets. Notably, when I think of gauntlets, I think of like the whole thing, like basically a metal glove or a glove of some sort of special coating, not and a glove that goes all the way down the forearm, which is what these appear to do, but we just have no explanation on what these things are. Still, and notably, considering Yuji, while is confirmed by blood manipulation in this chapter, doesn't seem to do anything with these in particular, I'm genuinely assuming this probably is just a response to his body becoming Sukuna. And here's once again, the weird thing about it, in this flashback, he does not have them. Once again, we have no timeline for anything. So, of course, us not knowing when this could literally be January, or not January. It could literally be November 23rd, for all we know, when this takes place, but he does not have the gauntlets here. So I'm wondering what these do, if anything, or if they're just a cool aesthetic choice. Considering so much highlight and prominence and consistently given to them, Gege consistently draws them out like this, I'm assuming they mean something, and based on the fact that they're the only thing on Yuji that has shown flat out, like, I don't want to say straight up immunity, but I think straight up immunity to all of Sukuna's attacks, I'm assuming it has something to do with the whole Yuji is a Sukuna finger now. I'm assuming. But the reason I say I assume is because I just don't know. Because Gege is yet to tell us. And we're probably going to have to rely on it soon enough based on what happens in this chapter. But back to Glazen. Sorry, I went on a whole side tangent just because I remembered I've yet to really address these things properly. And I don't necessarily have theories for them outside the fact that they're like immune to Sukuna's attacks. Kind of, sort of. But we see how Yuji just slides the meanest stuff. Like, this has malice behind it. And, like, for good reason, right? Like, Sukuna's not a good person. I joke around sometimes and say, what? Sukuna's done nothing wrong. Everything's been in self-defense. And legally speaking, they have been attacking him. Sukuna has not actively attacked anybody. And, of course, all of Shibuya is clearly not self-defense. But to defend my client here, Gojo sent the 200% hollow purple first. Sukuna was just defending himself. Right after that, Kashimo ran in, lunged at him. Oh, whoa. To be fair. Oh, yeah, actually. You know what? That's kind of nice. He did grab Kabutoke and then strike Kashimo with lightning. So Kashimo was in self-defense. Yeah. But everyone else, they attacked first. So, literally speaking, Sukuna's in self-defense. But seeing the force and malice behind this one, how it literally makes Sukuna's big old spare eyes bulge out, beautiful. Perfect. No notes. And we see that Sukuna's like, oh, I see. Quite the meal. And so, essentially, Sukuna realizes the gambit. He's like, you devious little fella. I see your conditions now. He realizes that, you're an interesting fellow there, Bucko. I see what you did. Essentially, he's understanding that Yuta took his technique, and the way he took it is what prevented Uraume from finding the last finger. And I think he's admittedly saying, with the IC, he's realizing that he may or may not have been right. That Gojo had that last finger all along, and it was given to Yuta in order to prep him for this. Though, admittedly, another thing about this finger, if it was consumed, where's the Fuga? Where is it? No fire? Mr. Okotsu? Huh? He doesn't even mention it. No mention of a black box or nothing. Like, Yuta, is it there? Could he pick up a blade and then it like lights on fire and it's not Ogi's technique? It's actually so good. Like, I don't know. This feels like a really interesting time to get a technique name based on the fact that Sukuna should now have it in his data storage that is Rika, but no. Very, very interesting that we don't even get a mention of Fuga, which once again could be argued that he didn't eat the whole finger, just a piece of it, but still, I think the finger's cooked, y'all. I'm sorry, Nobara fans. I'm leaning towards the fact that it's over. But with that being the case, we see that Sukuna, he's just so Chadley. I know. It seems so contradictory. As one of the, not the greatest, one of the most gargantuan Gojo glazers this side of the Mississippi. It may be shocking, but I will admit, I got my masters. I got my darn masters in Sukuna slopping, y'all. So you know I gotta praise him, dog. How many people? How many main villains? Not even main. How many villains, antagonists, or just people in general do you see full bread, cornbread fed cheesing? He is cheesing right now after getting smacked in the face, bit by his own fangs, as the last chapter called it, and getting slobber knocked. So much that his soul is getting disrupted and his physical form is weakening. How many villains you know would be smiling after that? Not a moment of fear, not a moment of hesitation. No, nothing but a big old cheesy grin. I'm sorry. The glaze is getting too thick. Y'all mind when I glaze? Honestly, I hope y'all don't mind when I glaze. Because there's more glaze coming. Like, do I have to put a pause on that? I mean, glaze in itself, it depends on the glaze. It could be strawberry glaze. Could be cherry glaze. I don't think I've ever even had cherry glaze before. What is the difference between, well, I guess it's a cherry versus straw. But, like, still, I hope y'all don't mind when I glaze. Because there's more glazing coming. Because we see Yuta Kotsu. He, admittedly, I still wonder, why did he not grab another katana? Like, they're everywhere, bro. Just pick up another one. You just got it for a little bit. But he smacks the belly mouth with this lower palm strike. Which is, once again, very impressive. He seems to draw juice from this strike. Like, I'm not sure. But I like to imagine that the main reason juice comes out of this strike isn't because Yuta actually hit him hard enough to, like, do damage with just the heel of his hand. It's because he made Sukuna bite his tongue. And it was like, ow! And he bit into his own tongue. But of course, Yuta just strikes that hard against this weakened Sukuna. And we see that Yuji Todori, they go in such a... And you know what? I didn't mention this. For two characters who we have never seen fight before against someone who they really had no reference of fighting. Like, I don't even know how you practice a fight against Sukuna. Because, like, the thing with Sukuna is he has those extra 2 arms that you have to worry about. But I guess right now they are technically just fighting a really tall dude. But the fact that these two, who've fought on panel, at least for us, once, and fought is a generous assertion of that fight, considering most of it was spent with Yuji running in a very separate and specific environment. But these two who've only fought once together, or fought against each other once, and probably trained on the month off screen, but with no direct reference to this man that they're fighting right now, the fact that they wombo combo and cleanly follow each other up so well is a testament to how innate the nature of jumping is to the world of Jujutsu Kaisen. They aren't saying words. There are no it's just straight, clean, fluid jumping. And I love it. I love just how locked in these two are and how they immediately combo off each other. Because look at how smooth it is. Let me break it down play by play. So Yuta goes in for the cleave. Sukuna grabs the blade, he gets cleaved, distracted long enough that Yuji can immediately follow in with the uppercut. But as Sukuna begins to speak and starts to recover, while the uppercut's still going through, and presumably Yuji went with a rising uppercut here, considering what he does next, as he's beginning to come into the next attack, Yuta lower belly palms the stomach, and he gets the stomach to shut it up, and Yuji immediately follows up with a grab into a slam for Sukuna's head here, which is... It's so disrespectful. I really... Here's the thing, though. No matter how much I will say and sound like I'm complaining about the fact that no one scales the Sukuna, because none of this really matters, because it's super weak, unknown output, unknown percentage, and we don't know how strong the Sukuna is. We just know he's not as strong as True Form Sukuna, or as strong as a fresh True Form Sukuna, because his output's all screwy, even after the end of the Gojo fight, meaning this man is nowhere near full power, meaning no one scales. I do actually like the fact that no one scales the Sukuna. And it makes, ironically enough, it makes every hit feel all the more earned. The fact that Yuji got such a clean, like, I want y'all to realize, Sukuna's massive. Yuji literally, he had to latch onto Sukuna's head. After knocking his head out the way, by the way. Like, remember, he knocked his head up. In the midst of the recoil from that big old domer being smacked around, Yuji says, "Where my hug at, little bro?" And just straight onto the knee. Mad disrespectful. But once again, as I glaze Yuji for the crazy disrespect here, in fact, that's blunted, but then there's claws on the rest of them. What the heck? But we see that Sukuna's like, "Oh, you want to know where your hug at? Your hug at right here, bucko." And he just locks Yuji in, once again, with this big old smile. I just love the smile. I don't know. I mentioned it before, and I'll say it again. You want me to like your villains? Have them smile when they're getting beat up. That's how you do it. That's how you do it. But with that being the case, we see how weak Sukuna is. Like, I know. I've seen some people argue, right? I've seen some people argue, oh, well, the feats still should be valid, especially for a cross-verse sense, right? Because if you don't make these feats valid for a cross-verse sense, then everyone outside of, like, Gojo and Sukuna is really, really weak cross-verse. So, like, you do need to try and give Yuta feats, you do need to give Maki feats, you need to try to give Itadori feats on Sukuna, and Sukuna's the only one left who can really upscale these characters. But, like, it's stuff like this that goes to show how weak Sukuna is. Because, like, look at him. He has Yuji in, like, the cleanest scenario. In a headlock, with a hand on his chest, and begins cleaving. And sure, It does damage. It does numbers. Yuji's very much worse for wear. But he's still in one piece. Y'all remember what this man was doing with dismantles? Dismantles. Y'all remember how 15 Finger was doing Big Raga, the Obstacle with dismantles? This is Cleave. Something that supposedly adjusts to your durability. And Yuji, I mean, I'm not going to say he eats that. Like, eats that implies, like, tanking it. Like, he ate it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But nah, he doesn't really necessarily eat it. But he also doesn't necessarily fold either. Like, bro does very, very well. And pretty much walks it off. Even though Sukuna literally hasn't been a full thing. Remember, Yuji got saved in 250 from getting cleaved. Sukuna grabbed onto him. And Yuji, very specifically, needed Yuta Agotsu to come out and be like, hey, yo, stop that, Busco. Busco? Was that supposed to be a combination of Buster and Bucko? Why did they come out like that? But we see that Sukuna lands the cleave. He does the cleave thing, but Yuji tanks it. Remember, these cleaves, the very last chapter, were set up to still be threats that could casually one-shot these two. I don't know. Does that man look one-shot to you? Does he look done to you? I don't think so. He's in extreme amounts of damage. But once again, as much as I was praising the synergy and the combo work and the majesty of it, Yuta, bro said, let's have a whole exchange. Bare hands. He went no katanas for this. But it is still impressive that one, Yuji Itadori, while having his whole chest torn open, goes, and just, that sounded nasty to me. I don't like how that sounded. I can't even hear how that sounded through the mic. Editing me, depending on how you feel, you may want to. But essentially, Yuji not only let me not do it again. But he straight into Sukuna's face, causing the man to stop smiling for half a second. But Yuta with the clean uppercut here, bro took notes from Yuji. He was like, wait a minute. You got him. You gonna hit his head left? Don't worry, bucko. I'm gonna hit his head right. And just straight conks, bro, dead on the jaw, and forces him to drop Yuji, which is fantastic. Once again, it goes to show the synergy between these two, where they're immediately covering for each other at every opportunity. But like I said, I've been glazing Sukuna. I've been glazing Yuta. I'm going to be glazing a certain somebody who shows up at the end of this chapter. But I gotta put some glaze on Yuji Itadori. Even though this man is in the most dire of straits. Even though at any moment he and everyone he knows and cares for could perish. Even though that he's lost in this world that could not care a bit about him against the one opponent who, not realistically, doesn't just not care but actively despises him. What is the first thought that comes to mind after he takes arguably one of the most powerful techniques in all Jujutsu Kaisen? This is my last chance. I'll bring down Sukuna and take back Fushiguro. Right here. Right now. No. No resting now. Get up. Heal. 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 He's him. The unbreakable will. The unstoppable desire. The endless phenomena of Yuji Itadori is ever, and I mean ever, impressive. The willingness and the ability to just like, notably, your boy, something's a little bit too difficult. Okay, to be fair. No. A perfect example for this. When I got Fire Emblem Fates Conquest, I was like, I'm built a little bit different. Why don't I try this on hard? I never beat the game on hard mode. To this day. I've never beaten the game on hard mode. I'm replaying Awakening. I'm replaying Awakening on hard mode. I beat Engage on hard mode. I still need to go back and do Madding on that one. I beat 3 Houses on normal and hard mode for like 2 other routes. But even then, I knew 3 Houses when I went into that. I gave up. My will was not unbreakable. Fate's Fire Emblem Conquest, it broke me. Yuji Itadori, though, he's playing from Lunatic Plus round start, and he's going to keep going through it, and I respect it. I respect the determination, the gumption, the gall. But, once again, just to reinforce the idea that, at least on the scaling front, unfortunately, none of this is kind of relevant. Sukuna says, my cursed energy output and my control of this body, both are weakening quite a bit. So, he just, it's a thing though, right? Like, which side of unquantifiable do you want to put this on? There are two ways to put it. There's either the side of unquantifiable, where, like, just no one scales to real Sukuna, meaning you cannot apply any of these feats to them in the real, unless you're specifically talking or comparing them to other characters. Like, who's strong between Yuji and Yuta? Well, who does better against a fatigued Sukuna? Clearly Yuta. But with that being the case, unless you're doing that, you can't really do anything cross-verse-wise on this, because his output, which we now know correlates directly to defenses based on the Ryu statement made by Sukuna last chapter, the output, it's dwindling, meaning his durability is dwindling, meaning we can't really say their AP would scale to Sukuna. And obviously, his own attack potency clearly is dropping a whole lot, meaning none of these characters really scale to Sukuna. And remember, his output and, well, not his bodily control, but his output has been kind of doo-doo water ever since the fight with Gojo, and Yuji's just been making it worse. Just been making it worse. So, I don't know. There's that side of unquantifiable where no one scales, it's basically irrelevant. You just gotta do inverse comparisons based on other things. Or, you go with the side of unquantifiable where they scale to 20 Finger Sukuna, just nebulously below him, because we don't know. We do not have any numbers or numerical comparison or any output percentage statement. Like, it could be so easily fixed. Well, admittedly, the only reason I understand why Gege does it, one, because, you know, more mystery the better. But two, because it'd feel inorganic for Sukuna to think to himself, I'm down to only about 47% of my curse energy output. This is getting dangerous. But what does sound in character? You know, my curse energy output and my control of this body, both are weakening quite a bit. So I'm fine with that. I'm fine with Gege being vague, but I don't know. It causes problems for cross-verse. But once again, that's very exclusively a power scaling issue, not necessarily a narrative issue. But speaking of issues, Rika has an issue with the Queen of Curses. Because as Yuji and Yuta take the time to, you know, heal up, solid up, juice up a little bit, Yuta goes to maybe grab another katana or two. Rika's like, I hope you didn't forget about me, King of Curses. Do I give her the voice? Honestly, she's perfect for it. Unless the merger happens. I'm trying to say the voice for the merger, but I'm leaning towards the idea that the merger may not happen. Do I give her the voice? Do I?
My name is Nicky Town. Who are you? My name is Imperfect Cell.
Rika literally, in spite of not speaking a single word, the chapter says,
My name is the Queen of Curses, Riko Orimoto. Sukuna. He will spread it.
And literally makes Sukuna low-key spread it by grabbing him by one leg and harsh slamming, bro, in midair, straight into Yuji's kick. That is crazy. I already talked about the coordination between Yuta and Yuji being amazing for having never fought together. These two have had one interaction that we know of, and they are still so cleanly comboing into each other. The grab into hard toss combo, beautiful. No bev needed. And we see that Sukuna's like, okay. Oh, sweet mother of mercy. I'm starting to taste my bones and smell my liver. We're done. She couldn't one-shot me before. She ain't gonna one-shot me now. Boom. He goes to unclass. Which, honestly, I'm not sure. I can't go any lower on the chair. What do you mean? Do I need a hunch? We're not hunching. Into the heavens we go. Get number one, stay hydrated. Number two, have good posture. But with it being the case, I say as I slouch in literally every single video. But with it being the case, do you know how crazy this is? Sukuna, who's admittedly very, very close to losing control of the body, or at least the control of his body is weakening quite a lot, and his output's garbage, meaning his defenses are much, much lower. And he himself admitted he's a cursed object who's afraid of getting hit with Hollow Wicker Basket. When does bro decide to risk the gamble? Now. When, if the cast was just slightly more ruthless. I want y'all to realize, I'll cut ahead into the future a little bit. Cast just a bit more ruthless, Sukuna may have died right here. He may have perished, right? Realize the end events of this chapter cannot happen if Yuta doesn't shut down Jacob's Ladder. If he keeps this sequence going right here, Sukuna dies. It's as simple as that. He's cooked. He is cooked for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Maybe with a snack on the side. Maybe a little bit of dessert, too. Because of this right here, he's willing to gamble it all because his output's lowering. Which, once again, it has me believing that Spatial Slash is a non-output reliant phenomena that may or may not travel. The travel things get a little bit weird. But I believe it's a non-output based phenomenon. I think Sukuna could be a 1% output and Spatial Slash would still one-shot Satoru Gojo. And the main reason I say that is because he still thinks it's worth the risk. He doesn't think regular dismantles will do it. But he's like, as long as I get this World Slash off, it doesn't matter if I'm burning alive. I will get what I need to get. But I do love how locked in both of these characters are. Yuji looking at it upside down from the Manji kick position, and Yuta looking at it head on from being directly in front of Sukuna. Releasing Hollow Wicker Basket and taking the Angel's technique in a desperate gamble to fire off the world-splitting dismantle. Which is a testament. Once again, sure, doesn't mean anything. Not really. But it means that this Sukuna is 100% confident he could not one-shot these two with an existing full-power dismantle. An existing full-power cleave. He needs to go for World Slash, which is a good thing. That means the man believes in his own head that the World Slashing dismantle, the Spatial Slash, if you will, is the only thing that can take down his current opposition. Which is good stuff. That means they're basically not immune, but they're strong enough to tank this Omega Giga crazy next level weakened Sukuna. Good stuff. However, we do get to see that they've already accounted for this. And the combo here is immaculate. First, Rika with the upper arms and the jaw. Dropping ready to hand nibble right on. But like I said before, and I'll say it again, this is the best Yuta moment. I know I just said so recently that the we cheated is the best Yuta moment, but no. Forget him kissing the cockroach. Forget him pulling out sky manipulation on the first try and slamming Ryu with it. Forget his battle against Geto in JJK Zero, movie or manga. This man, as his queen and his brother from another mother, hold down 3 of Sukuna's arms. For this man's instinctive reaction to reach into the belly mouth. And like, I know his output's super low right now, and presumably the inside of his mouth isn't reinforced all too much. But like, do you realize how much force that Yuta had to be digging into that thing in order to rip it out first try? And he gets a fat chunk of it, dude. That is a fat chunk of tongue he rips out. That is great. Bro went in with pure raw force and said, "Give me that!" And he got it. He got it. But not only did he get it, the man did this. Tore out Sukuna's tongue while face tanking a cleave, y'all. Like, he walks this cleave off better than Yuji does. Of course, Yuji lands another hit here, meaning his output likely falls even further from when he used it here. But still, the fact that he gets cleaved straight, and his immediate response is to not... No, his immediate response is to boom, lunge forward, throw the tongue away, grab a different katana, start healing, and declare he wasn't able to use the expanded dismantle while using Hollow Wicker Basket. Even if it's a simple technique, he's forced to use chance, hand signs, or both. This still feels weird. Before I glaze Yuta, this does still feel teeny tiny bit weird. And the reason I say that is because then what's the point? I mean, obviously there's a point. Like, what's the point of the 2 arms and the extra mouth? What do you mean you can't extend a technique? Like, remember, bro extended a technique while missing a hand, missing a foot, missing 2 eyes, and was on the verge of being cooked. His RCT was so bad he couldn't even heal, despite it revealed the fact that he had more than half of his cursed energy left. Meaning it was solely his RCT output that was fried there. And his general CT output was still fine enough that he could launch off a World Dismantle while missing 1 whole hand. And I guess chanting under his breath. But you mean to tell me that this guy can't use an extension technique and a Hollow Wicker Basket at the same time? That's a little bit crazy to me. It's a little bit insane. I don't know. I kind of think that's kind of just thrown in there for our heroes to last a little bit longer. Note how I didn't say when. I said last a little bit longer. Because it does feel a little bit weird. Like, Mr. Apex Jujutsu over here cannot use Hollow Worker Basket and World Slash at the same time. Okay, Gary, you got it. But we see that Yuta Kotsu and his infinite savagery just tears out Sukuna's mouth, which is... I just realized how insane this is. I have nothing that I'm... For the content... Alright. I just realized... Where is it? Sukuna's mouth is closed, y'all. He was not yapping with that top mouth. Yuta Akotsu literally went... Sukuna's lips were pursed, sealed shut. Yuta literally made bro swallow his sword and then tore it out before he could fit. I can't say that. I can't make those jokes. But he literally stuck his blade in Sukuna's mouth and tore out his face. I only notice this now because you can tell by how dramatically different the flap is. He has this one line completely closed, but this line is torn wide open. Yuta is a monster, bro. To stick your sword into somebody else's mouth and tear through it? Oh, he's him. But we see that Yuta realizes, oh, for real? His slashes are weakening. I don't have anything to fear, even if I get close up. And he just goes for it. He books it. And I respect it. Because he essentially, realistically, Yuta calls Sukuna's bluff here. He's reading what we read by the fact that he goes for the space slash instead of regular dismantles. Essentially, Yuta analyzed the situation, was like, he can't beat us right now. His output's that bad. He can't beat us. Of course, Yuta may have ran into a trap, but clearly he didn't, based on the fact that that cleave, the stronger variation of the attack, didn't do much, and especially these dismantles didn't do much. Oh, actually, maybe this was... No, because it seems to be... That's the thing, though. This is like the cleave hand sign in terms of like open palm, but he does, seemingly enough, use dismantle here despite not doing this. So, we see Yuta just saying, oh, he's not him. Not right now. And I ain't scared of somebody who was him in a past life. And immediately lunges in and starts cooking. And that's crazy. And I love how this moment here is portrayed. Sukuna kind of gets like two-stage faked out here. Yuta clearly swings for Sukuna's face. Like, I'm not sure any other way you can interpret the way this blade is going. Mainly because the bend is this way and not this way. Like, maybe you could assume that he was going for the arm the entire time, but based on the fact that the bend of the blade is this way, it's implied at least that he's swinging like this. Notice how I put this. Notice how the blade is arched up this way and then swinging that way. So he made Sukuna think he was going for the face here. Then, Yuji times that perfectly before Sukuna can react with a use of Supernova. Hard confirming that bro has blood manipulation. Hallelujah, my boy's free. It may be domain time, ladies and gentlemen. We may get that domain expansion of the blood manipulation technique, which got me excited. But, Yuji times the blood manipulation perfectly, and since Sukuna is forced to take his attention off of Yuta, Yuta actually gets to go for the real play here, which is taking off Sukuna's arm. So essentially, Yuta basically did this. Like, aim for Sukuna's face, only for at the last second to go down and aim for Sukuna's arm. Once again, if I had to assume why he didn't just go for the face anyway, Megami. Still trying to save Megami. They're taking gambles by ripping off his arms in the first place, but at least he has two spare ones. Two backups. Unfortunately, he's only got one head. So that's probably, if I had to take a guess, right? Maybe. Yeah, I think so. Because realistically, he should have just gone for the tongue, right? Like, he went and ripped out the belly tongue, so why not rip out this other tongue? Maybe he thinks the tongue is destroyed here. But yeah, he goes for the arm. And, man, my boy used to get blood manipulation. Make me so happy. I'm so happy he's got blood manipulation. Well, is hard confirmed. I believe it was hard confirmed for a hot minute now, but, you know, I've been wrong before, and I will most certainly be wrong again. So to see Yuji with blood manipulation, beautiful. However, the arm gets torn clean off, and then we get a flashback. Going in depth about the scenario. According to Why do I give him a voice like this? Like it's like half a millimeter off from a surfer dude voice. But we're sticking with it. According to Tsukumo-san's notes, on a general level, even if souls are mixed together, to some degree, they'll never become one. But could it be that you and Sukuna were just a special case? I can feel a trace of the soul that formerly inhabited this body. And then it gets explained, before I go too crazy into this, it gets explained. That seems to be due to the massive gap in cursed energy between cursed objects and non-sorcerers. Her notes say that while a soul might sink and disappear, it won't ever disappear. Well, actually, no. A soul might sink deeper and deeper. It won't ever disappear. Or can join to become one. Which is interesting. And I do, once again, I mentioned this in the quick review, and I'll mention it here. I do like how there are multiple types of perception, and how some versions of perception are limited. So Choso cannot perceive the soul actively, while someone like Yuji can. Even though, reasonably speaking, he should have access to the ability to harm Mahito and stuff like that, and accidentally attack the soul. Good stuff. But with it being the case, we see that the question is naturally brought up. On a general level, if Megami's an exception to this, we're in trouble, which is true. If Megami had properly fused, if Megami had properly fused into Sukuna, they'd be cooked. They'd be absolutely cooked. But luckily enough, they ain't fused. But maybe the luckiness wasn't all it's cracked up to be. Because we see that ultimately, Yuji explains, there was a cursed spirit named Mahito who was able to take the souls of others and join them together to create a separate entity. As long as that technique isn't in play, that filthy creature, that beast almost as bad as Panda. Ugh, I think it's safe to assume that two souls cannot become one. I think. I believe Tsukumo-san's... Oh, wait, no. This is still Yuji. I believe Tsukumo-san's words. I'll shake Fushiguro's soul awake. So, this is Yuji hearkening to the bit, right? He's like, yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, I'm him. Yeah. Like he's so confident in waking Megami. And then we get the reveal of Miss Fumble herself as she says, oh, well, if that's your plan, our technique might be beneficial. The angel's technique is the eradication of its target's technique. We should be able to eradicate Sukuna due to the incarnated form being a direct mix of his technique, his personality, and the cursed object. Given that cursed techniques are invariably connected... Given that cursed techniques are invariably connected to the brain, the output of Sukuna is, most likely, the output of the target at least, is low. However, if we were to separate them into two souls and weaken the synchronicity between the cursed object and the body, the soul survival rate will skyrocket. Which is a bunch of words to say, use Jacob's ladder on Sukuna after you wake up Megami a bit. Bada bing, bada boom, and then they have the look left. But, with that being the case, this does imply the horrible thing that Hana just genuinely fumbled, like straight out. Like, she may have not known until recently, but she knew that Megami would still be fine as long as she just didn't turn off Jacob's ladder when you had the chat. Like, if she just had not turned off Jacob's ladder, she could have won, gotten Megami, had her cake, and ate it too. But no! She just had to fumble. But, with it being the case, we cut back to the battlefield and see Rika's latched on, and Yuta's like, I really do feel like going all out. And he drops a maximum output Jacob's ladder. Once again, in a similar way to how Angel ended up fumbling by leaving him in there for only a few minutes, not on a 30-minute deep fry, we've run into an issue. Because Sukuna gets hit by one Jacob's ladder. You see, it does do damage to him. He does leak a whole bunch of... Actually, no, it's his torn open mouth. So it doesn't really leak any juice. But he does get pierced straight through the arm by Yuta, loses that arm, and Yuji Todori is right behind him, coming in swinging. Wake up, Fushiguro! So, we see, with a punch straight to the chesticles, Yuji Todori dies within the soul. of Megumi Fujiguro and Ryomen Sukuna. And ultimately, there's only one thing that needs to be said. The composition of the soul. From that angle, Itadori and Okotsu's plan had no flaws. However, that's enough. I've had enough. Within Megumi Fujiguro's soul, any will to live had already been extinguished. So, it's a soft way, not really, it's a hard way of saying that. Megumi. Suguna's plan worked. It did work. Notably, we don't know how much he saw. That's, a lot of people just said it was a sister, but remember, this guy's been going through it. Numerous unlimited voids, numerous continuous battles with his body being used as a puppet, being used as eyes and ears rather than an actual individual, using, literally just stolen for his technique. Megumi Fujiguro, after the loss of his sister, after the loss of Gojo Sensei, both at his own hands, yeah, it makes sense that this boy's like this. It's still unfortunate though, right? And I'm still going to chalk it up to a cell, but in the same way that I chalk Kenny or Yuta not slicing Kenny's brain up as a cell. Like, yeah, he did the job, and technically Yuji never sold here. He did fine. He did, in fact, better than ever by reaching Megumi. But yeah, Megumi's very, very sad. And like, I know it comes off really condescending to just say, yeah, Megumi's very, very sad. But that's what it is here. He's genuinely despairing over the loss of everything. Everything that he knew, everything that he loved. It's slowly been taken away, destroyed, annihilated. And it's sad. Like, it is genuinely sad. Notably, at first, especially in the original spoilers, I was like, Megumi, why? I was, like, so mad at bro, but, like, now I just genuinely feel bad. I just straight up feel bad for bro. I'm like, oh. The one thing I will admit I'm happy / disappointed on, man, them Unlimited Voids they must not have done nothing. Unless they just played the Yorozu event on loop for him, I just have no idea what... I just don't know. That is a genuine question to me. I don't know. How do I formulate this into words? Think, pencil man. Think. Jimmy Neutron. Okay, so the main thing that I do still somewhat have an issue with, how come this didn't wake Megumi up anyway? Like, notably, with him knocking into the soul, like, what happened here? What was Sukuna losing control to then? That's my big question that I feel like doesn't get answered in this chapter. I don't think we'll ever know. What was he losing control to then? Because notably, he mentions his control of the body is weakening. So does that just mean he would have been paralyzed? Because there's a question that also comes with this. That was the original question I asked. The second question came up afterwards. I don't know why my brain just hard deleted itself for a second there. But the big question that I had, and the one thing I'm a little bit disappointed in, on top of whether or not, or what Sukuna was losing control to, whether it was just paralysis or something else, the Unlimited Void just had no effect on him, I guess? Like, he's still coherent enough to form sentences. He's not frozen, he's not drooling, he's in the big raga, but like, he's still clearly coherent enough to form words. He's still a conscious being. So, I'm a little bit disappointed in that. It genuinely does, like, I was low-key. This is a good way to do it still. This is a good way to do it. But, honestly, in a way to save Megumi from how the community's been flaming him as of recent, because of this, you easily could have made it that he was just lost to the Unlimited Voids. Like, sure, you can have him recover and make him recovering, like, a big part of it. And honestly, someone brought up the idea that this could be his Itachi and Sasuke Tsukuyomi moment, where if you remember, Sasuke, under the influence of Tsukuyomi, had to, like, experience the loss of his parents, like, 100 or 1,000 times. Like, you could argue that's what the Unlimited Voids are doing to him. Like, he's just stuck on the Yorozu replay over and over and over and over and over again. But, one, I feel like that's reading a lot into it. And two, I don't think you should be able to form sentences in that were the case. And three, it really, really, really makes the whole Unlimited Void attacking the soul thing seem just so that Maharana could adapt. Like, there are no repercussions for it beyond that. I mean, the Unlimited Void that landed had repercussions. to the point where Sukuna is still suffering from them by being unable to activate his domain to this day. And by to this day, I mean to this moment in the fight. Well, I guess to this day, legally speaking, inside the verse too. But I don't know. I'll admit, I'm kind of one tiny, not really relevant, but still relevant enough that I want to mention a critique, is the fact that the Unlimited Voids, despite him getting hit by numerous ones, had little to no purpose, other than for Big Raga to adapt to it. Once again, it felt weird. I'll admit, it's fine, because I don't know how it would have affected him anyway. Would it have overloaded his soul with information? I don't know. I still kind of don't like the idea that Unlimited Void attacks the soul. Though it is implied that it does with Mahito. Still weird. But, all that aside, Megami. It's not bad character writing. I'll say it here and now. It's not bad character writing. But he did sell. Two things can be true at the same time. I've been seeing a bunch of Megami defenders saying, well, Yuji would be in the same situation. Yuji still did the same thing. You don't get on Yuji for selling. Well, one, the reason I didn't get on Yuji for selling is because I didn't exist yet. And two, yeah, I would. Just in the same way, I would say the same thing as then, as I do now. Yeah, Yuji would still be selling if he were going through it like this. But he's still going through it. It's not a bad character thing that he's under the influence of the negativity that surrounded his life for like the past life that he's been going through for a hot minute now. It's not his fault that he feels bad for all that he's done against his own free will after being taken control of and having the only people in his life that he ever knew or cared about for more than like 5 years or like what? 8 months, however long JJK is. Yeah, it's not bad that he feels genuinely guilty and gives up as he does and just does not fight back. That's not bad. It does lead to him selling, though. It is bad for everyone else. Because if he had actually gotten control back as planned, as it said, as the narrator itself said, the plan had no flaws. Megami Fujiguro sold here. One thing I do like, though, I like that Itadori and Yuta had an unknown variable that they didn't think about. They didn't know about the bath. They didn't know about the slaughter of Yorozu. They knew none of that. And I do like how that unknown variable came into play here. I like how that ended up haunting them. It retroactively gives Yorozu more purpose. I know that sounds good, but like a big thing that a lot of people have, myself included, for Yorozu is that it kind of just feels like a plot. Samuki herself is a plot device. Like I'm not gonna sugarcoat it or anything. Samuki is a plot device / a foreshadowing tool for Big Raga, the Offstopper, in terms of showing that Maharaga can pop domains, have already pre-adapted his techniques and stuff like that. Like that's what that fight is for, and it's to sink Megami down. But by having that have such a lasting effect on Megami, I like it. Gives her more retroactive purpose. But of course, now that the guy Yuji said, hey, Mom said it's your turn on the controller. And Megami's like, no. I've had enough of the game. I'm not fighting that boss again. I'm sick and tired of Hollow Knight. Yeah, the main player. He decided to take his turn back. And we get Scale of the Dragon, Recoil, Twin Meteors. Now, couple things. What happened? I do, like, here's the thing. I can kind of read what happens here. But of course, the main thing. Sukuna's upper arms broke free. He points World Slash very specifically at Yuta Okkotsu. Because remember, Yuta Okkotsu is the facilitator for this entire little co-op event that they're having right now. Sukuna knows who to target here. So him targeting Yuta makes sense. And very specifically targeting Yuta in this way as well. Likely enough, Sukuna noticed the aspect of the ritual and aimed perfectly, not just to slice Yuta in half in a similar way to Satoru Gojo, but also to disconnect the ring hand from Yuta. So him getting hit by World Slash makes sense. Number 2, Yuta Okkotsu was hit by World Slash. He should be done. Not only do we see his domain shatter in the same way that we see all domains shatter when the wielder takes too much damage and things start to fall, but also, like, we literally see the juice coming out of his back. He's literally in half, y'all. And this is a question. This is a big question. Of course, there's levels of copium, and I'm going to make a whole video talking about the levels of copium, because we got a break. But notably, it depends. Do these seem like multiple slashes or not? They do seem like it. Essentially, the big question here that I've been asking, a lot of people are asking, how did this exactly happen? Because if you remember, Rika's holding Sukuna down here. Rika's holding Sukuna with both hands, meaning he shouldn't be able to get into the position to do anything, right? He's being held down, and the other lower arm was torn off by Yuta. So it has to be these upper two hands. But the big thing here is that, well, I'm guessing, if I had to rationalize it, Sukuna likely used cleave? I want to say cleave on Rika, because his hand is poking out here, but that may be Rika's thumb. So I'm guessing what Sukuna did, in a similar vein to how when Yuji latched onto his arm and held it out like this in an arm bar, he rotated his hand and grabbed. I'm assuming that's what he did. He likely, in the instant that the plan to wake Megumi didn't work, he flipped his grip around in Rika's hands, slashed her to free himself. And notably, I still think it was a weakened cleave that did this, maybe from both hands, because we saw a more empowered cleave through her, like literally tore her whole arm apart, but this one only slashed her enough to ward her off. And two, she takes multiple slashes. Rika was not hit by World Slash. She was not. And if you interpret this right here as a second slash on Yuji wasn't hit by World Slash either. He was hit by something unique. Now, where that would come from is also interesting, because notably we see him point with his right. I think this is his right hand here. He points like this with his right and hits Yuta with World Slash, meaning he had to do whatever he did to Yuji, likely dismantle net or like 2 dismantles with the free left hand. And this even makes sense on that, well, like based on how it's drawn here, because the right hand is what is up in the air and on the side of Yuta, while the left hand is on the side pointing at Yuji here. Meaning he probably did a combination thing where one hand was pointing at Yuta with the dismantle, while the other hand was pointing at Yuji. I will admit, Gege definitely could have portrayed that better, because this is a little bit hard to read. Next thing, I mean, like, it would have to be a miracle, but I think Yuta's cooked, y'all. Domain shatters, he's in half. I don't know. Now, the biggest hope that I had was Yuji still alive, right? But just based on the angle of World Slash here, unless Yuta fell a whole bunch from this panel to this panel, it doesn't even look like World Slash may have hit Yuji. And remember, with his super lowered output, even if it's amped by the chance again, it may be entirely possible that, that World Slash still ended up whiffing on Yuji, because the World Slash could have been tinier. Because remember, World Slash is a full-scale slash thing. It has range. So if you want to still say his output's lowered and his control is lowered, World Slash may have just been localized to Yuta Okkotsu, not any of the surrounding space. The only cope y'all got, there's still some swords in the background, meaning he may still be alive, and Rika still has some sort of free will, meaning that maybe she can sacrifice herself for Yuta, and she isn't fully manifested. But other than that, I think the cope is cope. I think the man's cooked, which is hilarious in a way, because he was cooked on Valentine's Day. Ain't that funny, Mr. True Love? But of course, speaking of true love, my girl is here and she okay. So here's the thing. Here's my thing. The thing that does have me a bit annoyed. What was the condition for her to appear? What was it? Because we see the narrator mention, the strategy was common of Jujutsu sorcerers, a mediocre plan that Sukuna, under normal circumstances, could have instinctively avoided. But the ghost of the Zenin appears from behind and gives Sukuna the most glorious backshots I've ever seen. But the main reason I raise a question, a surprise attack on the individual assured of their own victory. Why does she not go for that? Why does she not go for the head? Why not remove these 2 arms? Why not remove the other 2 arms? Why specifically go for the chest here and now and not the head? Because I assume the reason she didn't appear is one, halfway because of this. The strategy was common of Jujutsu sorcerers, a mediocre plan that Sukuna would have noticed under normal circumstances. So maybe she couldn't have been viable until this very moment. But the big thing I'm gonna have to critique my sweet daughter for, she could have shown up way earlier. If the plan was to, like, if the only way I could excuse it is if she was literally there the entire time, just invisible because she's not able to be recognized in domains, or she was hiding behind a pillar or something like that, watching. But they explicitly told her, hey, we don't know what your soul sword's going to do if it attacks Megami. Only if it looks like Megami's a lost cause, or it looks like Yuta or Yuji's going to perish, then you show up. I don't know why she didn't interfere sooner. Do you, like, literally, if she showed up a few pages earlier, the world slash can't happen. Because when Yuta goes to slash this arm and remove it, guess what? She could have taken off this arm. This arm. He's perfectly locked down here. It would have been easy licks, easy cuts. No world slash happens. Yuta's still alive. She could have appeared sooner. The only excuse I'll give is maybe that's her condition for appearing. That's her sure hit effect. She only appears when it looks like, one, Megumi Fushiguro can't be saved, and the distance between Megumi Fushiguro fumbling and her appearance is so slight that she didn't really have a chance to step in sooner out of fear of her permanently harming Megumi. That's the only excuse I can give for her not appearing sooner. I can't give an excuse for her not going for the head if that's the case. If Megumi's now considered a lost cause because they've lost their hold condition on Sukuna, which was Yuta's domain, she should have gone for that. He didn't know she was there. It would have worked. She could have taken off his dome piece. And unlike Big Jaku, where taking off his dome piece would not have been viable, taking off Sukuna's dome piece would have been viable. So, just in the same way, I would love to just glaze it up and slop off Maki right here. If she falls, it's her fault. If more people fall, it's her fault. Because she could have gone for that. As Thanos warned. And I think Infinity War would have been out. They may have not had time to see Infinity War. Maybe they were training. But I believe Infinity War would have been out at this point because they're fighting in December. When did Infinity War come out? Because remember, this takes place in our universe. When did Infinity War come out? April. Way earlier on in the year. She should have known better. So if something ends up happening to Maki, it'd be like that when it'd be like that. However, all that aside, wonderful chapter. If you could not tell by my extensive yapping, if you couldn't tell by how much I was praising and glazing the combat, the utility, the fusions, the character running, from the determination to the action to the motion to everything within this very chapter, and you couldn't tell how happy I am about baby girl finally here, even though she's probably gonna get cut like everybody else because Jay doesn't love us. This chapter's some gas. But if you made it all the way to the end of this video, please do me a favor and leave. I was about to, no, that joke is when. Nah, let's not do that one. Leave Thanos. Leave Thanos in the comment section down below. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, the big purple guy, Thanos. Thank you so much for watching. If you leave a like, share, comment, and subscribe. And make sure you hit that little notification bell so you don't miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Also, I do happen to have a Patreon below where you can support me for as low as $1 a month. Things like exclusive videos, early content, and more. You can also now become a member to the channel for as low as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. So those perks include the 42-minute live reaction to this very chapter, along with ad-free variations of all my videos. And if you become a $25 patron or a $25 member, you can order whatever video you want from me. Now, I thank you so much for watching once again, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is Dag of the Pencil, writing off. I'd like to give a thank you to our $3 members, Wakanda Plays, Red Wolf, 4765, Greyhound, and Akids Void. And I'd like to give another thank you to our $5 patrons, Victor, Sean, RNG Master, Midnight Lord 21, Kevin, Igneal, and Demix LNT. And I'd like to give another thank you to our $7 members, Autumn Mornings Lazo, Sick Addiction, and Jan Tomas. And I'd like to give another thank you to our $10 patrons, Robbie Uchiha and Joaquin. And I'd like to give another thank you to our $25 member, Alex Ice Rose. I'd like to give a my apologies. I'd like to give a hefty thank you to our $25 patron, Winter. I'd like to give another gargantuan thank you to our $25 patron, Steron. I'd like to give another humongous thank you to our $25 patron, EHAC1. I'd like to give another scrumdiddlyumptious thank you to our $25 patron, ChinaDoll09. I'd like to give a final and gargantuan thank you to our final $25 member, Calvin Elder.